I want to talk to you about life. It's just so difficult to be alive and to try to function nowadays, isn't it? I mean, there are all these people to deal with. The other day, I was trying to buy a can of tuna fish at the supermarket, and there was this person standing right in front of where I wanted to reach out to grab the can of tuna fish. And I waited a while to see if they'd move, but they wouldn't. They were looking at the can of tuna fish too, except they were taking a real long time on it. They were reading each ingredient on each can of tuna fish like it were some book, a pretty boring book if you ask me, but no one has. And so I waited a real long time, but they still wouldn't move, and I still couldn't get to my can of tuna fish. And I thought about asking them to move, but then I just became overcome with this fear that I would do no good, absolutely no good by asking them. They'd probably say something to me like, well, move on me, goddamn please, you nagging hag, and then what would I do? So I started to cry out with frustration, softly, as not to disturb anyone, and still, even though I was softly sobbing behind them, they still could not realize that I was standing there. And so I reached over with my fist, and I brought it down real hard on their head. And I said, would you kindly move, butthead? And then he fell to the floor, and then he looked up at me, quite startled. And then there was this child standing nearby who started to cry, and I was already crying, and I couldn't possibly imagine what I could do with tuna fish at a time like this. And so I yelled at the child to stop crying, and then I ran out the supermarket. And then I reasoned that I would go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I needed to be surrounded with art and culture at a time like this, not tuna fish.